Evening and welcome. Tonight is Tuesday, May 3rd, and we are here with the Public Safety Committee meeting. I now call the meeting to order. Please be advised that FATV is recording this meeting for public broadcast. Anyone wishing to speak may do so, but not more than 2 minutes. If you have something to present or say, please come to the center podium and state your name and address for the record. With that being said, we've got in attendance Councilor Bernie Schultz, Councilor Derek Cruz, Councilor Paul Boschman is joining us via Zoom, and myself, Amy Green. First on the agenda, 19621. Councilor Marcus Natale on behalf of resident Barbara Slattery to install a sidewalk apron at the corner of Old Deerford Road and Electric Ave. Similar to the one installed same side of Mount Elam Road and Electric Avenue, then allowing for the installation of a crosswalk to enhance the safety of pedestrian traffic for the residents of Old Deerfield Road who use the adjacent bike path. Also joining us tonight is Sergeant Boudreau from the Fitchburg Police Department, and we also have a finding of this already from Public Works Committee. So I don't know, Sergeant Boudreau, if you would like to say anything about that, or if we want to go right to the Public Works ruling on that.
Yeah, the only thing would be with any crosswalks, the DPW did take over under the previous commissioner doing the crosswalks, because every crosswalk needs a traffic engineering study. So we used to send those out, and they started doing them. So it really, I don't have that much involvement in it. The DPW for this particular one, I think at the Public Works Committee meeting, said that they were going to do that in-house. So I think that's kind of where we're at with that, but it would need an engineering study before it could be put there.
I'm just making notes as we go, and I do have the notes from that. Pending results of the traffic study to be conducted in-house by DPW with support from the Fitchburg Fire Department. Anticipated timeline for completion of the traffic study is April 2022. If the traffic study concludes a crosswalk is acceptable at this location, we are willing, or they would be willing to be installed pending availability of funding. So any questions or concerns on this petition?
I move to accept 19621 under the grounds that the traffic study is permitted.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Schultz. I have a motion and second. Any discussion? Councilor Boschman, anything to say?
Nothing yet.
Okay. Thank you. That will be, it'll be sent with our recommendation also to be in favor of that. Next on the agenda is 19921, Councilor Marissa Fleming on behalf of Fisher Road residents to request new sign and public lighting for Fisher Road as outlined in the enclosed petition. I'll go with Public Works notes first. Signage and New Jersey barriers approved, lighting and bridge repairs approved pending funding, which will need to be sourced outside of DPW's annual budget, either through a grant program or other sources of funding. That was voted in favor with those stipulations. Sergeant Boudreau, anything to add?
No.
Anything from councilors?
Yes.
Oh, Councilor Boschman.
Before we accept that petition, I'd like to know what it's going to cost the city to put a light on Fisher Road, the cost of it. Because there's no street posts around that area.
Right, Sergeant Boudreau, do you have any, I mean, I know lighting isn't your...
Yeah, I can comment a little on that, because I did go to that Public Works Committee meeting.
Okay.
And they did talk about some of the work that they were going to need to do that. And I believe, if I recall correctly, the DPW commissioner was going to reach out to whoever our new contractor is, because I believe we don't have a contractor for the city right now for the streetlights, to see what that cost was going to actually be, because I do believe they have to come from at least a few poles down. I'm not sure how far. So I couldn't tell you the cost, but I know that did come up at the meeting.
All right. Councilor Boschman, do you want to just hold this until we have a funding source on what it'll cost, or give it leave to withdraw, or deny it?
No, I like to hold it till we get a cost from the commissioner on the DPW to see what it's gonna cost us, the taxpayers.
Second.
Any motion or any discussion on that, Counselor Schultz?
No, I'm in agreement with Counselor Boishman on that, that we should hold it until we get that cost.
Okay, so Counselor Boishman, you're good. We're going to hold this in committee until we get a cost associated with that.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, 2/16/21, Sergeant Daniel Boudreau, Counselor Squalia, and Nick Erickson to petition for an installation of a traffic island between Old Leominster Road and Abbott Avenue. Additional of no right turn on Abbott Avenue turning onto Old Leominster Road. Additional of stop sign also at the end of Old Leominster Road at Abbott Avenue. Again, the Public Works Committee approved pending a traffic engineering study to determine correct placement of signage, study to be conducted in-house by DPW and Fitchburg Police Department. Sergeant Boudreau?
So we went out there at the request of Councilor Squalier. There was, I believe the week before she had requested it, they had a pretty good accident there. The vehicle took out a telephone pole.
Yep.
So we went out and looked at that intersection. And when you're coming down Abbott Ave, if you're going to turn onto Old Leominster Road, there's actually quite a drop-off there. And what we're finding, you can actually see that where cars have bottomed out doing that turn. They're taking the turn too sharp. And it's a good enough drop-off that we were actually told by one resident that she's actually seen cars get hung up there. So by looking at it, we kind of agreed with that. So along with the DPW commissioner and the councilor, we kind of looked at the area, and the DPW commissioner feels for not a lot of costs with them doing the work. They could extend an island, taking where that drop-off is. But by doing that, the way that the roadway comes back up Old Leominster Road, it would be dangerous to allow people to now take a right turn. So that was the reasoning for the no right turn.
Yep.
If we're going to do that berm, we feel you shouldn't take a right turn there. We're going to end up causing an accident. And then the stop sign, even if we don't do the berm, with looking there, the way that the brush grows, and there's some trees, if you're coming up Old Leominster Road onto Abbott, we feel there should be a stop sign there, and there isn't one. So the engineering study is just for the stop sign. We could separate that, depending on what the councilors want to do. The berm that we're going to do in the no right turn would be one section that can be passed by you without an engineering study, but the stop sign needs an engineering study, and again, the DPW commissioner is comfortable doing that in-house, if that makes sense to everyone.
And I just have a question for clarification. Does every stop sign request need an engineering study?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that one would have been the one that would be like a no-brainer to me, because,
Yeah, and the only reason you need it, but the reason we really want it is it's kind of an odd intersection, and we just want to do the right placement of where it should be so we have the correct sight lines. So if you're stopped at it and you're looking down, like towards the highway, towards Leominster,
yes.
that you have enough sight line so that we don't cause an accident.
Okay.
So that's what the engineering study would be for, just for the correct sight line for the
All right.
placement of the stop sign.
Counselor Cruz?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the stop sign, in your opinion, would be the safest route to take here, not just the berm, but to go with the engineering study?
Yes, and then the right turn the stop sign would be coming from Old Leominster Road onto Abbott.
Right.
The no right turn would be from Abbott onto Old Leominster Road.
Right. I did take a drive down there. It is pretty dangerous. It's a gnarly drop.
Yeah.
It really is. So I think it's the right thing to do. And if the DPW is comfortable doing the study for the stop sign, it's right there in my ward. I'm more than comfortable with it as well. I yield the floor. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to,
Make a motion, we accept.
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. 01822, Sergeant Daniel Boudreau to petition for the installation of no parking at all times on both sides of Game On from Industrial Road, Victoria Lane, intersection to Game On soccer facility entrance. That went to Public Works, and they were all in favor of that, but Sergeant Boudreau, I'll give you an opportunity if you'd like to speak on that.
Sure. So part of the planning board agreement for Game On was to put that Game On needed to do no parking on, that would be the north side, I believe, but the side of the road, if you're driving into Game On, the left-hand side. So those signs were placed by the contractor for Game On when they built the facility. They just never had an ordinance that made them legal. So that's why this ordinance was put in. We were just doing it for that side, but when I looked at the roadway and what we have up there for parking, it made more sense just to do both sides of the road. It's not taking any parking away from anyone. There's on that little section of what is now Game On Way, there's no driveways, there's no houses facing Game On Way. There's no businesses that enter onto that, so we're not taking anything away by doing both sides of the street. But like, as I said, one side was part of the planning board, that Game On had to do that to get their permit, so I just added the other side because I thought it made sense.
Okay. Any discussion on the petition?
Motion to accept,
Second.
01-22.
I have a
Second.
motion. Thank you, Councilor Boschman. Zero 2722, Councilor Derek Cruz on behalf of Basin Awad, resident of 8 Boylston Street, to install a street light on telephone pole number 4 on Boylston Street. So, Councilor Cruz, you've met with this resident. Sergeant Boudreau, we've talked about the importance of street light, and that is, important to residents to light up to deter from accidents or vandalism happening. So streetlights usually don't come before public safety because we don't right now have a contractor to install telephone poles and/or lights. So your recommendation on this?
I mean, like you said, we've had those conversations. I'm never, from a safety standpoint, I'm never against a street light. As you said, this usually doesn't come to public safety, so this isn't a petition that was sent to me by the clerk. So I don't know where this particular light is. I haven't gone out there to look at it. Councilor Cruz, I'm not sure why if they want this because it's at an intersection or safety-wise, but again, from the police department standpoint, I'm not against putting a street light anywhere. I think if you have more light, it makes it safer, but.
Yeah, this resident reached out to me, Mr. Awad, about how dark it is at night and his children play there, so he's concerned especially with the summer coming up and his kids being out later. I went down there to meet him. He showed me the pole and how dark it was, and the electrical unit is already running up, so I'm not sure how expensive or complicated it would be, but it doesn't seem from my eyes going out there that it would be too difficult. Maybe we should I'll send to Public Works.
Would
as
you
well.
be comfortable sending this on to Public Works? Because DPW would, I think, at some point be the funding source or know of the funding source on how to get it done. So we recognize in public safety that, yes, it's important to do, but we as a public safety board don't have money to dole out for projects like this.
Sure, yeah.
I'll make a motion to send it to Public Works.
Second?
On the
Thank you.
motion? On the
Yes,
motion?
Councilor Boschman.
I just want to tell Mr. Cruz that I will not be in favor of this petition, no matter if it goes to DPW. They got a street light on the corner, and they got a street light one pole down from that area. And the rules are, it's every other pole. We're going to get into a situation here where every resident in the city of Fitchburg is going to want a street light in front of their pole. So I'm not going to support that, to be quite frank with you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Boschman.
Yep.
I do have a motion and second to send it on to Public Works. So that it will be sent on to Public Works, and we'll let them decide what and how to do it.
Right.
Thank you, though. We still like you. Zero 5822, and I do believe that this is the time that John Savoni had requested to Zoom in or maybe be a part of this virtually regarding the following, I think, 2 or 3 petitions. 05822, Sergeant Daniel Boudreau, traffic unit to petition no parking at all times on Industrial Road and Stephen Roads, both sides. Do we want to take these individually?
I would suggest we do all 3, Counselor.
Okay.
If that's okay with the council is. They all kind of, it's all under one report that I did, so.
Okay. 05922, again, no parking tow zone on both sides of Roper Road from Industrial Road to Westminster Line. The next one, no parking during game on functions tow zone, entire length both sides of Victoria Lane. So 058, no parking at all times, Sergeant Boudreau.
So all 3 of these petitions were done. I did them in 3 different petitions because the wording was different for the 3 of them because of the different roadways. But all of this came from a large event that, or a couple of large events that Game On had where their fields were full and their building was full. So it was about as much traffic as they can have up there they had. And people were trying, they didn't have enough parking, so people were parking everywhere. So the chief asked me to look at this, and we put these petitions in. What was happening is the officers that went up, we had some issues where someone might be parked too close to a corner or too close to a driveway or things like that, that the officers could take action. The rest of it, there really was no action we could take. It was causing problems up there, but some of the cars were actually legally parked, not what the area was designed for, but they were legally parked under the rules because we didn't have any of these signs.
So these would be just for implementing if somebody was parking illegally. This would be the tools for you to follow through
Yes,
on
so,
if they
so
were
now
parked illegally.
if we pass this and we go up there and there is a problem, officers could take action, whether it be citing or if it was too extreme, they could tow. So that was the idea behind these petitions. So I can kind of give you the 3 different ones. So the first one for Industrial Road and Stevens Road, that would be no parking at all times on both sides. That road is wide enough that it could have parking. The problem that we're going to run into if you had a big event like this, if we had parking on both sides of that road and you did have a catastrophe that happened up there, a major event, and now you're bringing in safety personnel and we're getting in there and the parking is tight up in their facility, so you would clog that roadway. Now you wouldn't be able to get ambulances in or things like that. So the reason we don't want the parking there is just for that. That gives us that extra avenue that if something did happen and we had to have safety personnel going in and out of there, it gives us that extra room. And all the businesses up there have adequate parking lots. We're not taking away anything by having no parking on Industrial Road itself. So that's kind of the idea behind that one. I don't know if you want me to explain all 3 or if you want me to take questions for each individual.
Do any counselors or Mr. Savoni, do you have any questions or concerns regarding the no parking at all times?
Not yet.
Thank you. Concerns from the counselors?
I do have a concern.
Yeah, go ahead, Counselor Boschman.
But mine's just in regards to 060-22.
Okay, well, we haven't gotten there yet.
All right, I thought he was talking about all 3. All right.
All right. Do we want to vote individually on these, what we're going to do with them, or do you want to take them as a whole?
I'm comfortable taking them as a whole.
Okay. 059, no parking tow zone, the Roper Road.
So that section is, if you're coming up Industrial Road, Roper Road is the left that you would take. Game On Way would be the right. It's at that, we only have a small section of Fitchburg. There's one house that is a Fitchburg resident. and then it turns into Westminster. But the Fitchburg section going to that house is extremely narrow. This tow zone basically would just be to warn people. If someone parked in that area, they would be blocking most of the roadway, and we would have to tow that car anyways. We're just adding the signs here just so that it's clear to people that you can't park over there. But that section is so narrow that we wouldn't be able to allow parking over there.
Okay. Any concerns from the counselors? Mr. Savoni, any concern on the no parking tow zone?
No, not in that section.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to 060, which is the no parking during game on functions tow zone, the entire length, both sides of Victoria Lane.
So that part there, I was asked to do resident sticker parking, was the idea. If you look at the current ordinance for resident sticker parking in the city of Fitchburg, it was designed for mostly up around the college area, and one of the main criteria for it says you have to have no off-street parking or limited off-street parking. So we really couldn't use that up in Victoria Lane because everybody has driveways. So we were trying to come up with the best idea that we could that I don't want to affect the people that live up there. They've been affected enough by the businesses that are around them. So we thought by doing this, it would only be enforced if there was a large event that happened at Game On. Even though there's signs that tell people not to go up there and park, they were still parking up there. So this would be an enforcement avenue only if there was a large function at Game On. We're not looking at trying to stop if someone's having a birthday party or whatever up at their house and their guests are parked out front. We don't want to be going up there and ticketing and towing people. So that's why we used this wordage, and it would give an officer responding. First of all, we get reports from Game On of what they have for functions, so we know when they have a large function. So if they weren't having a large function and an officer got sent up there, their first thought should be, why are the other parking here? So it would give us an opportunity to maybe ask a person if you can see they're having a party, are these the people at your house? So that was the idea behind that wording. I think we thought out of the box a little bit. I think it's the best avenue we can do to have an enforcement arm for the residents of Victoria Lane. So if they are parking from Game On, we can either ticket or tow those cars. And if it's not, and it's people that live in that neighborhood, then we don't have to bother them. So
Okay.
that's the idea behind that.
All right. And I assume, Mr. Savoni, this is when you would like to express an opinion or a concern?
Yeah, my question here is, on the resident side, if they end up having a function, maybe putting something in the vehicle. I know we're not doing stickers, but maybe saying that, they're having a party or there's people over and they can just put the address, of the house that they're at. I mean, because otherwise, how would you guys know? Correct?
No, I don't, Mr. Voney, I think that would be a good idea. I wouldn't suggest that we do that like an official thing for the city, because
No, I get it.
yeah, I would say this, like the resident sticker parking, those residents have to pay for those stickers. So,
Right.
again, I didn't want to go an avenue like that to put any more.
I'm just talking like maybe like a handwritten sign.
I think that would be a great idea if we go
Okay.
through with this. And it's something that, if you as a group think you're going to do that up there, then,
Yeah.
I can put that out in an email to the department so that officers would know. And it would make it easier for us. Usually when we get called for any parking complaints, we try to reach out and see if it's somebody that lives around there first.
Sure.
And that's what the officer would have to do up there. So if the residents did that, it would make it much easier for them.
That's what I was thinking, to help you guys out for doing that. I
Yeah.
think that would make sense.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Thanks.
Any concerns or questions from counselors regarding this? Counselor Boschman?
My concern is the same concern as that, John. Say if Boschman's having a party, a graduation party at the same night they're having WWE up there, and it's packed. And I get a bunch of people for a graduation, but not everybody puts their name on there. What's going to happen then? I got 50 to 75 cars up there for a graduation party. I'm just using that for an example.
No, it's a valid point, Counselor, and it's something I thought of. This isn't perfect. It's to try to help the residents up there, but if we don't have anything and someone's parked in front of their house and they're not within 5 feet of their driveway, then legally they can park there and there's nothing the police department can do for the residents. So this is kind of I think the best idea I could come up with. If there's a hiccup, if there is a party and an officer went up there and tagged a family member of yours, then I would suggest you call the department right away, ask for the officer in charge, and we can go up and remedy that.
Right.
I don't know, maybe somebody else could give me a suggestion. I did send letters to every resident up there with kind of what we were planning, and I didn't get anything back from anyone until yesterday. I had one resident that had a different question. So if somebody else had a different idea, I would be all ears, but I think this is probably the best plan we can come up with to help the residents. And that's all I was looking for with this.
So what you're saying, that if I have my party and let's say 15 of them didn't have that piece of paper in their window and they got a ticket, all they have to do is call the police station up and say, hey, I was at a party at Paul Boschman's house, and I get a ticket, he lives there. That would be okay, they would take the ticket away?
I wouldn't recommend that it would be the person calling like the next day. If you see a police cruiser out there and he's writing tickets and it's your party, I would either go up and talk to the officer, or if you didn't notice right away, that's why I'm saying, then I would call and they'll send that officer back up, and that resident could explain the situation.
Okay, okay, I'm in favor. All right, thank you.
Right. And if you could just, I need to make notes, if you could just state your name.
It's Beth Romano. Do you need my address too?
No, Beth, we know where you live. As a resident of Victoria Lane, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So this might be a petty issue, and I think I said this in my email to you, Sergeant Boudreau, when they were talking about putting the no parking signs all along Victoria Lane. Since Game On put the sandwich board signs at either end of Victoria Lane, the parking that has occurred on it has been greatly reduced. So what I was thinking is, instead of putting signs all the way throughout Victoria Lane, could we do one on one end and one on the other like they are now? And just a larger sign that says, no Game On parking throughout Victoria Lane.
Yeah, so I did have an email exchange with Ms. Romano, and I did talk to the DPW commissioner, who actually, the DPW is actually in charge of putting the signs up. We had that conversation, and the DPW commissioner and myself, we have no problem with that. We were probably going to do, I went up there with him, and I think maybe 3 to 4 signs on each side of the roadway. The reason being, it's more clear if someone parked up there. But Game On has done some things up there. They've made more parking. We've been able to fill police details up there, so I don't think the problems have been as bad. So I think it wouldn't be a bad idea if we just did the sign, and we could do it, if you've seen them, where they do an entire street. It starts with an arrow and it ends with an arrow. They're not as clear cut, but I don't think we're going to have as large of an issue up there. So I think that signage would be fine, and it would cut down. We would only have to buy maybe 4 signs, 1 on each side of the road.
Right.
Instead of maybe 6 or 8, so.
Right, because I want to do the right thing for the residents up there, and I do hope that the issues have subsided since they've, been open and have opened up more parking up there and everything, so that it's not such an impact for the residents of it being a nuisance or, a deterrent of not wanting to live there.
It's decreased since they put the signs. I mean, there are still issues that we need to work out, but the parking throughout Victoria Lane has greatly decreased since those signs went up on either end.
Okay.
And there's also been a police detail, so that prevents it as well.
All right. No, I like the fact that Game On at least lets the police department know when they're having big events so that they can be prepared for whatever phone calls or concerns that they have from any other residents there.
Yes.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yes, thank you. So the petitions are ahead of us. Counselor Schultz?
I just had a question, Sergeant Boudreau, about the arrows. Are they going to be on the street from the
No,
side?
so if you've ever noticed, we don't do a lot of them, because usually we'll put the signage
Yeah.
sporadically down the road because it is clearer.
Right.
But you can do, through the MQTCD, you can do a sign that would say like no parking,
Yeah.
and it has an arrow,
Okay,
and that's telling you from there. And then at the other end of the street, we would have one that would end.
okay,
No parking to that section, and the arrow would be the opposite.
yeah,
That is those are signs that can be used.
okay,
Again, we usually would put more signage on a road just to be more clear cut.
yeah,
But I don't think unless they have another big problem up there that we're gonna have people parking, all the way around the circle.
well, we still have the option of putting more signs if.
And we could
yeah,
later on.
Later
yeah.
on if it
we
doesn't work
found
out.
out, again, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Later on, we could add signage if we had to, so I don't think that would be a problem.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Green?
Any other discussion on 058, 059, or 060? Counselor Cruz?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a quick question. Are we just pushing where people can park further away from Game On? Are we going to have more issues down the road here?
No, so they're working, Counselor, on adding parking up there. They just found out, I think I would just call it growing pains. They found out that when they're booked for the building inside and all their fields, that they just don't have enough on-site parking. So they've had a deal with Monty Tech, and they've been using their parking lot when they have larger events like that. They have taken away one of their smaller fields and made it parking. And they're working on another parking lot on their facility. So I think once all that is done, seeing what they've had to use from Monty Tech and what's happened since this first issue, it seems like they're probably going to have adequate parking all on their own site once they're all done up there. So I think this was just kind of some growing pains, and they're addressing it. So I don't think we're going to have these problems. But again, at least if we do and we pass these and we have the signs, we'll have an enforcement power if we have to go up there.
Thank you, Sergeant. Make a motion to accept 5822 to 6022.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, 09322, Counselor Sam Squalia on behalf of resident Nick Haynes to add four-way controlled stop at the intersection of Victoria Lane, Industrial Drive, and Game On. During times of heavy traffic flow in or out of Game On facility, residents of Victoria Lane do not have the right-of-way to cross and thus must wait for long periods while the traffic lines go through. If a four-way stop is not feasible, an alternate solution shall be investigated by the city. And we do have resident Nick Haynes with us. If there's anything, if you're just here, if you want to add your concerns or anything with this, or if you're just here to listen and see what happens with this. And Nick, what is your address?
115 Victoria Lane.
15, thank you.
So my main concern is not during the weekend where we have a detail up there, but more during the week is you coming from Industrial and then coming off of Victoria Lane. The residents right now have the stop sign, and the Game On traffic, which is commercial, have the right of way to exit and then enter Industrial. And right now, I've had it happen to me coming back from picking up some food, and I've come back during the week and been stuck 15 minutes waiting for the traffic to go through off of Industrial Lane to cross 20 feet of an intersection to go home. Right now, coming off of Roper Road, you almost have to do a full stop already. With the brush and the rock wall, you have to almost inch out to get into the intersection already. So it's more coming off of Game On Way to take that left onto Industrial would be, I think, the main stop sign for the traffic coming through. Like, as I said, I've had to wait 15 minutes to cross that tiny intersection. If you haven't been up there, it's pretty small. And I think the weekend traffic with having the detail up there is definitely improved, but more so during the week.
All right. Sergeant Boudreau.
So anything for stop signs, we've already talked about that, needs an engineering study irregardless, but for three-way or four-way stops, you'd have to have an engineering study, and they do it by traffic counts. So you need, I'm just going to read this for you. You need at least 300 vehicles per hour over an 8-hour period per day from one of the roadways, and the lesser roadway has to have 200 vehicles per hour over 8 hours. That's the main criteria that the engineer would look at. We're not going to reach that up there.
Okay.
So it wouldn't fall under that. And then they have some secondary things. If you have more than 5 accidents a year, and in the accidents, it's recorded or shown that a stop sign would have helped for the accident, then that would be a reason that they may do a 3- or a 4-way stop. Again, we don't have that up there. We haven't had accidents. Not to say now with the extra traffic, that could happen over time, but as of right now, if an engineer looked at that, that's a criteria he's going to look at. So I don't see us having that up there. So by all means, you could put it out to an engineering study, but I think we would be wasting our money with that. I don't think it's going to fall under that criteria. As far as where the stop signs are, the original engineering study, when they built Victoria Lane, they had an engineering study, and that's why the stop signs are put where they are. They designated that as the secondary roadway, and what is Game On Way now was Westminster Hill Road, I believe, at the time. They designated that as the main road. So that was an engineering study, and that's why the stop signs are where they're at. So if we're going to change anything up there, it would start with an engineering study. But I just want you to understand, like, if we're looking for a 3- or a 4-way stop, that's the criteria they're going to look at, and I can guarantee you we're not going to fall under that criteria. Now, an engineer could look at that intersection and do a traffic study and could decide that now they're going to change that, the primary roadway is Victoria Lane, but I don't know if the traffic would do that, especially from what Mr. Haynes said. Your more traffic is coming out of Game On Way, out of that business, than coming out of Victoria Lane. So that would be what the engineer would have to look at.
All right. I think either way, it would have to go to Public Works as a funding source and as the source of getting anything done, especially where we're not right now willing to do a 3- or a 4-way signage up there. Councilors?
Make a motion to send it to Public Works.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Boschman?
When I talked to Sergeant Boudreau, I thought he wanted to wait and see how things got out as it get better, because he said there was going to be some great improvements up there.
But that is another thing, we probably should be looking at up there. And the resident could maybe answer that. I don't know if it's gotten better. It sounds like it did on the weekend. I'm not sure. I don't know of any like really larger events that they've had during the week. They could have had some that I'm just not sure of. But I think most of the during the week is, I think, schools and things like that on the fields, and maybe some stuff inside. But the resident could probably tell you more about what's happening during the week. I don't know if it's gotten better or if he's still having this problem.
Ms. Romano, do you want to take the podium?
Sure, I can kind of give you a little info. Beth Romano, Victoria Lane. The weekend is primarily the busiest time for Game On. The traffic is excessive that comes through there, obviously, because they have quite a few events going on. The week has gotten better. During the week, I would say, though, that the people coming up Industrial, taking the right to Game On, don't stop at the stop sign. They just make that right and go right through. So that's been an issue. The other concern is that our mailboxes are right there at that intersection, and it's tough to walk there on a weekend to get your mail. It's tough to walk when it's a busy time to get your mail because there are no sidewalks that go to the mailbox on that side. So getting the mail, usually you're coming home from work, you stop at the mailbox, get out, get your mail, and go. You cannot do that when they have traffic there, because there's really nowhere to stop safely. So it has been a little bit better on Victoria Lane itself for traffic. As far as the traffic coming over Game On Way to get back out onto Industrial, it's still quite a bit of traffic.
Okay.
So, and during the week, yes, it is less because they don't have the tournaments. It is mostly schools. I think this weekend they had a big tournament. There were coach buses going up there. I know the Yukon Huskies bus was there because I could see it go by. So I know they had a tournament going on this weekend.
Okay.
So there's a considerable amount of traffic that goes through there.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Savoni, did you have any comment?
I was pretty much had everything that Beth just mentioned. The one thing I did want to bring up is not that intersection, but when you come out of Game On Way, there is a stop sign there, but it's not super visible, and some people do use that. Now, Sergeant Boudreau, do you know, are they keeping that stop sign there? The one that's kind of hidden behind a tree?
Yeah, so
I'm sure you saw it.
that's actually on Game On's property, so it's not it's not an ordinance sign for the
Right.
city. So we wouldn't be able to ticket if someone didn't stop at it. And I know what you're saying, it's kind of leaning up against a tree.
Yeah, and
I've had a couple conversations with them up there, and I think it's just part of the process of what they're doing.
Right.
They've told me at some point that large tree that it's against,
yeah,
and I would like them to take that down.
same here.
Then I think the stop sign that they have there, they could put up, and it would be more visible, and hopefully people would use it, and that may give, the residents up there, if you took the right, and maybe you could take a left there, if people were following that stop sign, that might maybe help with the issue that we're talking about. But I've asked them to take that tree down and to put that sign in a better spot if they're gonna keep it. But that's entirely up to Game On. That's their property and that's their sign.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thank you. I have a motion and second to send 09322 to Public Works. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, 10722, Michael Jarig and Tala Mahavadov, River Street Auto Sales, doing business as J&G Auto Sales, to petition for a Class II dealer's license located at 369 River Street.
Madam Chair, I have to recuse myself from this one.
Thank you. All right, this is a change of ownership. The dealer license stays at 369 River Street, and it's just new owners. And are either of those two present tonight? I don't see them here. Counselors, hold until they can come before us.
Make a motion to hold the petition.
On the motion,
Yes, Counselor Boschman.
that Michael guy, the first
Yeah.
name, it's really his business. It was underneath his father's name. I'll speak for him. It was underneath his father's name, and all they did was changing the name. He runs the whole thing still. All they're doing is changing the name out of the father's name and putting it into these two people's name. He's the owner of the old Duford garage station, Michael. And if I wasn't sick, I was supposed to call him, and I didn't call him.
All right, thank you for that. Counselors, what do you want to, hold it, or do you want to just move forward with granting the existing dealer's license onto Michael's name instead of his father's name? Everything checks out, correct, Sergeant Boudreau?
Yeah, I have no issues with it.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my motion then.
Do I have a motion to accept the change of
I make
ownership?
a motion that we accept 107-22.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and second. Any discussion?
If Counselor Boschman says it's a go, I have no problem with it.
All right. All right, Counselor Boschman, you're on the hook for this.
All right.
We approve change of ownership for 10722. Thank you. And as of right now, we are adjourned.
Thank you.